All right, let's do it. So, all right, so how's it going, guys? This is going to be the second podcast, and I'm titling this Calvin and Hobbescast. That's what I'm titling it. It could change at our either of our discretion, but as you can see here, I got my boy Calvin, and we're going to go ahead and do another podcast. Like I said, this will be episode 2, and this time the topic will be on music making. So, as if you didn't know, if you already follow my channel, then you know I dabble in, well, not dabble, but I'm actually a producer and an MC and a lyricist. So I do that along with my tech and videos and, all the other stuff I do, whether it's the, like the animation, the painting, the content creation, along with music. So this time we're just going to focus on both of our journeys as makers of music and in particular hip hop. So, like I said, I'm here with Calvin. So you have any words before we get started? Because I actually have like 11 questions here. So we're going to try and get this going really quick, kind of smooth, more so than the first episode. But yeah, Calvin, do you have anything to say?
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming through again for episode 2. Episode 1, it is on my channel. You guys, Calvin Cabana, you guys check it out. We talked about Super Smash Bros. But episode 2, we are talking about music, and I'm excited because, like he just said, we both come from musical backgrounds, and we happen to play games and do other things. But this is going to be a very special episode because music is something that I know we both hold dear to our hearts. We just have a special connection with music, and I'm ready. So shout out to Hobbs Karate. Shout out to everybody watching. Appreciate it. Check out our stuff, and let's have a good episode.
Cool, cool, cool. So, and before I get started, I just want to say that, because I know whenever I watch like reviews of albums and just different music, a lot of times they'll talk about it, but you won't hear it. So I always don't like that, just as a listener. So even though we can't hear each other's like screens to show your music, I'm gonna like overlay like the actual songs we're talking about so that you can hear it, just like a little sound snippet. I think that'll be helpful just in terms of the listener's experience. And also, both of our links in terms of our music and our work will be in the description. So just in case you didn't catch it in stream, then you can check out the description and click on our links to our songs and beats, stuff like that. So, all right, let's get started. Now that that's out the way, let's get started. So the format is going to be questionnaire based, except since this is a joint podcast, to where these questions aren't for one person, they're for two people. So because of that, I'm going to ask a question, but it's really a question that's going to be asked to not only Calvin but me too. So both of us have to answer the same question. So that's kind of the format. But let's get started. Question 1. And Calvin, you can go first since I've been talking a lot. So, question 1. What are some of your early music inspirations that you modeled your style after? And yeah, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and get started.
Um, wow. It okay. So early on, maybe age 5 to 10, 5 to 10. I would hear music really from family members, my dad, or we'd go to other people's like kids' birthdays party. I think that's where I was really hearing music a lot, and also the radio station. So I was around different types of music. Some of the artists would be like one of the early rappers that I ever heard was a Filipino rapper named Andrew E.
Mm.
Very, if you guys, you could Google him, but he's like a legendary Filipino rapper, and I just remember hearing a couple of his songs around 7, 8, 9, somewhere like that. And although he was speaking in the Filipino language, Tagalog, um, I didn't necessarily understand what he was saying, but it was clearly that it was hip hop, it was rap, and I think like a lot of the fundamentals was there for my ear, like kind of just like hearing how this kind of beat I would play out, and then a lot of rap songs, hip hop American rap songs, pop songs on the radio, friendly stuff, and I guess whatever at that time would be famous, I guess 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002. You guys don't do the math, but I don't know. I guess I never really, I never really. I guess I'm more influenced more by the producing style rather than trying to imitate another artist. I think whenever I made music, or even until now, but early on, if there was any major influence, it would be more in trying to have that sound, trying to have my song sound like a certain category rather than try to just directly imitate, let's say, Eminem,
Mhm. And
or insert name
let
here.
me interject. Um, I guess I guess for the second part of your answer, kind of focus it more on like um not so much your early music inspirations, but your early music inspirations in regards to your producing style, like when you first started making beats or songs. Like, what was that inspiration? If that makes sense, you know.
Okay. Well, early on, the reason just to produce, I would just have to say it has to be just to have fun. I mean, one of the earliest producing memories I have is, and you guys can Google this. It's a game on the PlayStation 1, I believe, called MTV Music Generator. And a friend had a demo of it. We never got the full version, but a friend let us borrow the demo. And if you guys research this game, it's a music production game, a creating game. And I think that was literally the first memory I have of creating music using technology, which is through a PlayStation 1 game, MTV Music Generator. And I think it had a sequel on the PlayStation 2. But that would have to be one of the first memories I have of creating music. And it was because it happened to be a video game. That's the crazy part. I wasn't producing just like somebody had a random grand piano in their living room. Like, you guys, I know it's ironic. I had my first music production experience via a video game, and I it's a unique thing. Like I said, other people would have it through choir or music class. I had it through a video game. And if you guys are familiar also with Mario Paint, I did not grow up with Mario Paint, although that is the game to this day, a timeless classic to recreate any song, melody, you name it, on Mario Paint. I didn't grow up with that, and I've played it, but I never really spent too many times with it. But early on, MTV Music Generator, through the demo for the PlayStation 1, me and my brother probably, and this is the demo version, we probably created a max number of songs that our memory card would allow with the limited uh, plugins that they offer through the demo version. And I want to say I was like 7, maybe 8. And again, this was all in the spirit of just having fun, because it's weird. You're creating music with a PlayStation controller in your hand. So I think it was in the spirit of fun. I wasn't taking it that serious. I wasn't trying to do anything, especially at 8. I think I was just more focused on having fun.
Yeah, that's a definitely a young age and definitely a unique experience in terms of first crafting beats. Uh, which kind of explains your style. Why it sounds so unique in terms of your beat making. Um, so were there any particular? I mean, you mentioned like I guess like the software and what you used in your mindset, but was there any like artist that you like wanted to produce as early on?
Not really. I
Hmm.
think because there's no one in particular I can name, because I think I was a fan of so many different types of music. My at home, my dad would play anything from Prince to Michael Jackson to blues music,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden it would switch up to, if you guys are from Texas, Tejano music. It's regional Mexican American music. So I was just hearing sounds from everywhere, but that universal feel good, you try to get a vibe off of it. I think, if anything I had to choose, it would be, I wanted to make, a happy feel good type song, try to really encourage those type of vibes.
Okay. All right. That's wow. Definitely a comprehensive answer. I like that. Um, and yeah, I mean, Yeah, I don't think my OG inspirations are that unique and well versed. For me, oh man, hold on. First, I'll have to read the question again to ask to myself. But so early music inspirations that I modeled my style after. Well, I modeled my style. Well, actually, I started producing way later than you guys. Well, because me and him, we kind of grew up together somewhat. We went to the same high school, stuff like that. So I kind of got my starter kit in music from our associated friend group, right? So by the time I started making music, I was a sophomore in high school. Unlike John being right out the womb, so it's not the same deal. But me, it was a little later. By a little, I mean a lot. So, but the thing about it is that it's funny because during my sophomore year of high school is kind of when I first developed a musical taste beyond just what was on the radio. And at the time, without dating myself, it was like Usher. It was maybe even early Wayne, early Kanye, College Dropout. So it was like the early 2000s era, early mid 2000s era, that type of music. You have Beyonce still doing it. You had early Destiny's Child, stuff like that, right? So just beyond just being a basic listener on the radio, I never had a musical opinion until sophomore year, and I had a friend group, which is kind of related to before I kind of met Calvin. I had a friend group that introduced me to like old school hip hop, 90s, Nas, Wu Tang, uh, obviously Jizza, freaking Raekwon. You got the whole Mobb Deep. You had the whole, like all that stuff, especially East Coast. That's where I would say that's my early inspiration. Honestly, actually, that's the answer to the question. That's my early inspiration is 90s golden age East Coast hip hop. So question two. So even in early high school, I've known you to make full songs and beat tapes. It's just my personal account of you, and which was always so impressive to me as a grade schooler. Because think about it, when other people were talking about going to homecoming or something like that, it's just like y'all, you kids, you and a bunch of other people will get to that. We're making full beat tapes, we're making full projects. I'm like, are y'all like signed artists or something? Like what the fuck? And these are just people in grade school, bro. It's just like the level of creativity that they were on. This is like insane. That's why I'm glad I grew up with the people I grew up with, by the way. So not to cut myself off, but like I said, even in early high school, I've known you to make full songs and beat tapes. So did you have any mentors or were you self-taught?
The only closest person that would be considered a mentor, at least even I consider, would be this producer. At that time, went by the name of Wonder Breed.
Yes,
And again,
sir.
for privacy details, I'm not going to say personal
I'm gonna
names and
say
things,
stage
but
name.
yeah. So the reason I consider this person my mentor is because when I first got into FL Studio, learning just green, not knowing anything, had the demo, maybe spent a couple months with it, created experimental sounds, and that's it. But Wonder Breed, which was a person that went to our school, also, we spent some time together using FL Studio. I don't want to say it was never really private lessons per se, but it I guess it literally is, because whenever I would go over to Wonder Breed's place at that time, we would play video games and basketball outside. But Wonder Breed also, by the way, is a legitimate producer as a kid. You got to consider our age at that time, and he was on another level. He, stuck out like a sore thumb. If you've heard his projects, his beats at that time, he would upload to his YouTube channel. A lot of people knew of him, and I just so happened to get per se private lessons. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but in my experience, I was very fortunate enough to have knowledge passed down regarding FL Studio through this producer, and that was the first time somebody actually explained to me, what goes on in FL Studio. I mean, I think I remember him teaching me about something simple as a metronome. Have the metronome playing while you're making a beat. Like that's so to me, even to this day, it's so underrated because you need to have, well, when you're producing a beat in FL Studio. Now, producers don't come at me, but at least how I was taught and how I still produce this day, I have a metronome playing throughout the entirety until I play back the final beat. So having a metronome, that was something he pointed out from the very beginning. Like, yo, before you lay down any drum tracks, any melodies, before you work on the bass line, whatever, have that metronome on. Also know your tempo, the beats per minute. Now it can change during the project, of course, but you need to have that in mind already. And just showing me around the different plugins that's available on FL Studio. Uh, it was a lot of technical information he passed down that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. I would, if you Googled that, I'm sure you can learn on your own. But again, as a kid at that time, uh, there was nobody else who possessed that knowledge. Like you said, I mean, if you're lucky enough to find creatives like that during those high school years, then you're very fortunate because the average kid probably does not does not do things like that unless they're, an actual creative. So we're very fortunate. You obviously have your own history with him as well. But that would have to be my mentor. Looking back, he would be the only mentor in terms of producing, and I'm thankful for any moment I got to spend with that person teaching me this, because I do carry on what I was taught even till this day when I add, my own ideas in it
Mhm.
and producing beats. So shout out to Wonder Breed. Anybody's watching this that knew of him or knows him still. Again, I don't keep in contact with this person at all, but I appreciate it. You did show me the ropes per se at the very beginning, the early years, which is very fundamental. You need somebody to teach you the fundamentals, and that person, again, taught me the fundamentals of FL Studio.
All right, guys, my turn. So, any early any early music or mentors that I showed me the ropes or something like that? And the reason I asked this question is just to show you guys, like, anybody can do this. Anybody can start. We're just showing you our history in terms of starting making music. You don't have to make $1 million. You don't have to be signed in order to produce beats, in order to make music, in order to do what you love. There's a startup in terms of knowledge or equipment, but everybody has a beginning or first level to a journey. So we're just sharing ours. So for me, it's going to have to be similar to Calvin in terms of this Wonder Breed character. Uh, this guy, I remember in high school, like he was, I think through the friend group of me meeting Calvin and then the associated friend group, this is where I met Wonder Breed, right? And I didn't never really formally introduce myself or knew him like that. But once we started talking, especially when it came to music, it was like we've always known each other. You know how one of those people who you talk to somebody, it's like you've known them for years. It was kind of like that. And so eventually, and I don't even know how this started, but eventually after school, I would go with him, and then me and him would just literally just freestyle, for like 5-10 minutes. And again, once school let out, you had about 10 minutes until the buses of their respective sides of the school would leave, right? In terms of people who rode the bus to go get back home. And so the only thing is that his side of the bus to get home was the opposite side of me, the location of my bus that I need to take to get home. And so, but because I would freestyle with other people, and then when he come in, then he would freestyle. Not only his freestyling, but his beatboxing skills were like S tier. When somebody does something that you do, and you look to the left, you're like, you don't want to say it, but like, damn, that dude's good. Like he is, you know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of gravitation you want because you're like, yo, he has some skills that I don't have. So I need to learn what he's doing, you know? And if you've ever been in a freestyle mosh pit, then you know that when people are good, they can flow and they can bounce off ideas and you can pass it off and it's very smooth and congruent, then it's just a better time. So when somebody's better at freestyling off the top of the head, is what we call it, then it's just more fun, you know? So essentially this guy Wonderbreed, he would teach me how to freestyle, how to beatbox, and then we just for 5 to 10 minutes after school we'd do that, and then we'd be walking kind of around the school but to his bus stop, and then we'd be beatboxing and freestyling. And so he'd do it and then I'd do it and mine would suck and his was good, but I try to get as good as him. And this small window of time after school was like so beneficial for the development of me as an MC, to the point where I believe at least once or twice I actually missed the bus because I had to freestyle with him. We'd go to his bus stop, then we, dap up, say what's up, whatever, it's all good, and then I had to run back across the side, across the school to my bus before it gets off. That happens so many times to where it's like, yo. But that again, that window of time to where it's like it's the only time I could be near him type shit. To where it's like, yo, let me learn for you. You know what I mean? And of course, this is before you would think like, oh, let me actually try and do this on my own. Let me try. Like I was just a kid who was following my friends who was already like in my mind like, well, they're like music people, and me, I'm just dabbling my toes in this. Like I said, in my opinion, I sucked. Really sucked in terms of freestyling, in terms of everything. I never made beats, but again, just gravitating towards them is just like, yo, like, yeah, I could just tell. Like, I don't know. I've always felt like I had a eye for like talent. Like, yo, these dudes are like good at what they do. You know what I mean? Even if I've never partaken in the process of making a beat on FL Studio at the time, I can tell like these dudes are like these aren't just nobodies. You know what I mean? So from that's my personal experience. I know Calvin told you yours in terms of this Wonder Breed. Just in terms of the more emceeing, more of the lyrics, freestyling side of things, this is where he kind of taught me a lot in terms of how to freestyle. So that was the biggest mentor in terms of music. Was definitely Wonder Breed, And again, if anybody knows him or knows how to contact him, then let us know. We'll try to put his links in the description. But I'm not sure if he still makes music or he's still in the industry. But that's really what that is. There's another point though. I remember years later, I would contact him on Facebook. We would talk because we went our separate ways. He went to this one college. I went to another college. Even though we're both in the same state, but and so he actually, no metaphor, like he actually made it into the music industry to where he was in a legitimate band as a producer in a hip hop group with industry folks. Then he'd tell me on Facebook like, oh, no, he say, oh yeah, I was doing this show, so I opened for this guy. I'm like, what? You opened for that guy? That's like one of my favorite artists. Like, what? You did that? And he's like, oh yeah, I met him. Remember he told me he met some people in the Wu-Tang Clan. He told me he backstage one time he saw, this is a true story, he saw Killer Priest just, I think he was just sitting down smoking a blunt, and then he was just chilling with him. I'm just like, bro, you met Killer Priest? I mean, if you know about obviously Wu-Tang Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth, like more of the Afrofuturist type Sun Ra-esque side of hip hop, right? And so this dude met him. Like he went on a list of how many people he met that I liked. And I'm just like, yo. Like, you know what I mean? So whenever we talk about music, even though me and Calvin aren't signed, we actually know people in the industry. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like people in our group went on to do shit like that, So we always have that music side to us. So that was long-winded, but yeah, that was my answer to question 2. So let me move on. Question 3. All right, Calvin, it's your turn. All right, so question 3, bro. Describe grind time, cypher rap, and the birth of the internet rapper in the late 2000s. What influence did it have on you? So
Okay. Um, okay, yeah, off the top, some of those names you just listed, Traffic, Timothy De La Ghetto. Obviously, he goes by his real name, Tim Shantarangsu. Definitely an OG YouTube legend, along with Wax, Dumbfounded. Anybody from Swim Team Project Blowed. I mean, the list goes on from YouTube at that era. from 2007 to 2012, a lot of a lot of the people who got involved with YouTube and who happened to create music, specifically rap or hip hop, were also content creators. So, for example, if you visited their channel at that time, you would notice this person would upload a lot of music, specifically rap or hip hop, but then they would also upload vlogs. They would upload uh, other random videos, things like that. So, but those names bring back a lot of memories because the main thing that the main thing I could take away from that era, and again, that was a unique era because obviously time has passed, and with time passing, music evolves and the internet evolves as well. But at that time, um, a lot of those rappers from YouTube, and this was before SoundCloud, so this is like on YouTube. It opened the doors and it sparked curiosity to a lot of aspiring musicians out there. You know, why not take a camera and freestyle, whether it's goofy or serious, whether it's with yourself or
Mm-hmm.
in a cipher, which is, a collaborative effort, and post it online and keep that keep that consistent. You don't have to be signed to a label. You don't have to be on the radio. If you have talent, if you have skill, then record it, get it on camera, upload it, and see what happens. And a lot of those names, specifically, like Dumbfounded, by the way, shout out to Dumbfounded and everybody else that, I grew up with watching during that era, you as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them happen to be Asian, but there were others of different descent or different ethnicity. But like the real top tier famous ones popular on YouTube, yeah, it was kind of ironic they were Asian, but that's just how it was, at least if you were focused on that part. But those people went on to have successful YouTube careers, and some even made it to the music industry, like Dumbfounded and things like that. So the biggest takeaway from that era, I would say, is that it definitely inspired me to showcase my own talent. I mean, you're talking about watching guys rap in front of their garage, or holding a cipher at I think like just at random places in front of Jack in the Box, and it wasn't more so that, I was thinking like, ew, why are you rapping in front of Jack in the It's like, no, these like, you bring that anywhere you go. Who cares what the backdrop is? What are you talking about? Focus on what the rapper's saying. And a lot of these guys were definitely talented and definitely inspired me to um, pursue my own path in terms of making music and even starting a YouTube channel. Because again, these a lot of these rappers went on to become full all around content creators who eventually uploaded different forms of content other than music. And
Mm-hmm.
that definitely played a part too whenever deciding, okay, what is YouTube? Well, you come to YouTube and you try out a bunch of different things. I mean, people who know me, you, how many YouTube channels have I had and deleted over the
Yeah, a
years?
lot, man.
And they definitely inspired me to be like, yo, if you can rap, if you have talent, if you think you have talent at least, then prove it, demonstrate it, record it, upload it. And some people have more success than others, but again, at the core of it, they definitely inspired me to go ahead and just start creating music. And again, that era was very, very unique. I know SoundCloud, if we get into that a little bit later, that's an entirely different website. But again, remember, the difference between SoundCloud and YouTube is a video sharing website. SoundCloud, you're playing back audio tracks. So imagine going to somebody's SoundCloud, an artist's SoundCloud, and hearing 5 songs where back in that era, we were watching rappers upload music on a video site. So you were actually seeing these guys rap visually rather than just hearing it audibly. and they would upload mixtapes and tracks and things like that. But a lot of their content also was visual. So biggest inspiration is that they definitely inspired me to follow my path and just get my stuff out there. And I definitely try to imitate that to the very least. You know, they say, what is that saying? Imitation
Imitation
is
is the best form of flattery.
for sure, 100%.
For sure. Even as an artist, like we imitate all the time. We use reference, you know. But as I'm drawing a little bit, but so it's gonna be kind of similar to in terms of my answer. In terms of grind time, cipher rap is like. I mentioned that because me and Calvin had a lot of similar classes growing up, so we would be we'll be in the back of the class watching freaking ciphers and freaking traffic and what was the grind time in terms of the battle rap, you know, that whole scenario, which was so big at the time, you know. But we'll be, you know, watching each battle, doing this, commenting on it, and so from that era that we grew up in, I feel like my top two inspirations, which can bleed into this previous question in terms of mentors. We talked about Wonder Breed, but for me, my top two inspirations will be number one is I'm blanking on his name. Number one is Dumbfounded, you know, and a close second is Traffic, Timothy Delgado. But Dumbfounded was like number one inspiration in this era, you know. I've always had the love for the old school hip hop, but the ones that were more visible, more transparent, because like you say, you need to upload a video, you need to show who you are. Not only that, but they really gave me the concept of what a multidisciplinary artist means, which I try and embody that in adulthood for myself, right? In terms of like, because you have to remember, these channels weren't just doing hip hop. They were doing skits. They were doing comedy. They were doing collaborative songs, like recorded songs, and they were doing battle rap, and they were doing ciphers. You know what I mean? And they were doing product reviews, and they were doing vlogs. So before your TikToks, before your Snapchat, before your Vine, before your Instagram stories, you had YouTube, who was doing all that in one site anyway. They were just innovative about it. They didn't need a app to set them up to be innovative. They were innovative without the app assistance, you know? And so obviously you can tell I'm biased against these new apps, right? That kind of churn out these influencers, you know? But during the old times, and I sound like a geezer now, but during the old times of YouTube, you knew who the influencers were because they were actually innovative and creative without being told to do so, you know? Without chasing an algorithm, you know? So I say that all because a person like Traffic especially did everything in one umbrella under his channel. Everything. You know what I mean? You saw his life. You saw him grow up. You saw him get a girlfriend. You saw him do ciphers. You saw him do battle rap. You saw him do comedic skits. And to me, I was just like, because you have to think, at that time, they were in there, in my opinion, like they're mid to late 20s, a lot of them, you know? Kind of their mid 20s at that time when we were kind of in grade school, right? So they were a generation ahead of us. But to me, it was just like, wow. So in my opinion, this is what an adult should be. They should be multi-talented. They should be funny. They should be, you know what I mean? They should be cool guys, or else they should exude coolness on the camera. You know what I mean? Because a lot of making music is an active performance. You know what I mean? So it's a performance art, just audibly. But obviously, when you do a show, oh, did I mention they did shows? But when you do a show and you do a music video, then it's a performance art as well, right? So to me, that was a model on how to be an adult, especially somebody like Dumbfounded, to where he just oozed like coolness, laid backness. He could rhyme his ass off. He was so talented on a microphone. He could freestyle. Like Calvin said, you could do this anywhere. You didn't set up in a studio and do this. Like, I should see you on the side of the street and say, hey, spit 8 bars, so you should do that. That to me is the Bible on how to be a hip hop artist. I don't know what other rubric other artists are using today, but to me that was about. That's how I grew up. You know, in terms of anytime, anywhere, you need to perform, you need to represent. Shout out to Nas. You need to represent, right? So, having said all that, this wasn't just all speak and talk. Like, we embodied that. For instance, me and Calvin. Dude, how many places have we freestyled over the course of growing up? With complete strangers we didn't know, with the most popular kids in school, with jocks, with shit like this. Remember being in fucking weight training class, in locker rooms, and this and that, like everywhere after school, in this restaurant, here, going out to clubs, doing this. I remember one time me and him were going out in like, you know, a place where people bar hop and there's a lot of foot traffic. We just stop and start beatboxing. And then we start freestyling. Then we got other people to join in. Then we had a whole group, you know, in terms of creating the fun, bro. That's what it means to be in my opinion, a multidisciplinary artist, which includes being a hip hop artist, you know? And that was all taught to me from Dumbfounded in Traffic, personally. So that to me is like, those two people in particular, of course, there was other people. There was, what's his name? There was Jen, there was Wax, there was a bunch of people that I'm blanking on their names now, but the two people in particular were Dumbfounded in Traffic. It's like, oh man, I want to be like them when I grow up. Like real shit, they're like superheroes to me, you know what I mean? So that's why I try and carry myself like that and being a multidisciplinary, but not, I don't really do comedy and skits, but in me, it's just being like an animator, being a musician, being a content creator, just trying to do, you know what I mean? Being multi-talented like that, like using, like you're alive, you know what I mean? So use your talents, you know? So, and if you don't think you have talent, you can gain talent by learning that trade, you know what I mean? So I don't know. That's what they taught me personally. So that's my answer to that. All right, next question, Calvin. Now this is okay. This is kind of getting more. Enough with the history talk. Oh no, this is history talk, but let's talk about your music. All right. So the question 4 is, what was the first song you made, and when, and what gear or equipment did you use? Just describe your first song, like if you can, if you remember the process of making it. What did you think?
Yeah, it probably. So I know it's FL Studio because that's the only DAW I've ever used in my entire career. And you know what? I don't remember. Probably don't even have it anymore. But I'm pretty sure if I was on FL Studio, then it had to be some random instrumental project. No name, whatever. Track one.
Hmm.
Um, Probably where it took place. Yeah.
See, folks, this is the problem. Once you're actually consistent in making music, you have a million songs. Then how could you answer that question? Because you made so many songs that you don't remember the first one. You know. So is there any early songs you remember? Any early project that you know felt like, oh, this is a complete song. Oh, I can do this. Maybe any beginning beat or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, probably, after 1 or 2 years on FL Studio, I started, getting more accustomed to it, started developing a little, what I wanted to create out of that software. It became more consistent. I would open up the software and actually, have intentions rather than before just load up FL Studio, but not really have anything in mind, which is not no shade, but it's a software, so you get what you put into it. So probably after 1 or 2 years, what you like, I think you act well. I know you have some of my beats, but probably the very first beat that I felt like, okay, I managed to make a solid beat in terms of it may have not been the best sounding beat. It didn't really include any really heavy plugins, really just really core default stuff in FL Studio, but it was a beat called Mary Jane beat.
A a. Oh, I love that beat. By the way, we're gonna play it for you guys. You know.
Yeah, Mary Jane beat, just random name. And but the build up to that beat was, again, it had to be like maybe 1 to 2 years before I actually got comfortable or actually had like an idea of what I wanted to leave FL Studio. Every time I exported something, I'm like, okay, this is either just trash I just had creative brainstorming going on, or I could actually save this, put it to use one day. So Mary Jane beat was like the first beat that I felt like, okay, if I can go back into FL Studio and not necessarily replicate that song, but let's go ahead and walk away with another solid beat of whatever I can make at that time. And yeah, I mean, ever since Mary Jane beat, I became more consistent from that era, making different beats. But that beat sticks out for sure. I'm sure. I'm sure you remember it too because of
Yeah.
its wacky nature.
I'll talk about it in a later question. I'm talking about it. So don't let me get to that. Let me get to that later, real soon. As in next question. But so that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that beat. Like I said. So just me personally, and again, I said that earlier before I asked a follow up question because once you're like Calvin, you make so many beats, you experiment, you spend so much time in FL Studio, you're not gonna remember a first beat. Probably I shouldn't have edited that question, but it just came to me now, like as he was answering, in terms of like, for me, who's made way less music, who's really made under 30 songs in my career, really, to where it's easier for me to remember like my first song or beat. So for me, it's going to be and I might have to play it right now. Which, Calvin, you're not going to be able to hear it, but I know it's going to come up in my recording. So once you watch the thing, you'll be able to hear it. But I can talk about it as you guys hear it on the desktop audio. So I have to go to YouTube for this. I don't even have ownership of this song because I was so disappointed. And the replay value is not it. All right, guys. So like I said, I was so disappointed in my beat or in my song. This is the first song I've done inspired by your boy Calvin, Wonder Breed, all the people we grew up with. I felt like I had to make my own song. I had to put my numbers on the board. You know what I mean? I used like a $10 microphone. Didn't use a pop filter. Didn't even know what that's for. Let's see. And I used Audacity for this song. My first song ever was called Here We Go Y'all Cypher Rap. Remember, we were so inspired by ciphers that we wanted to use beats that they provided because they would provide free beats in order for people to join in on ciphers. This is a whole era on YouTube. Somebody should research this, But so the song's called Here We Go Y'all Cypher Rap. And I'm going to play it and you guys going to promise not to laugh. So that's the agreement that we have to reach. We have to reach before proceeding, But this was when I was I made this song when I was 16 years old. Yeah, 16 years old. This is the first hip hop song I ever made. So here it is.
Our Productions. Hey yo, this LC. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Our Productions.
You can't hear right now, but it's playing.
So this is my first track, you know what I'm saying? So I gotta kill this shit. Alright, let's go. Hey yo, I had a big dream at the age of 15.
This is SoundCloud rap.
Thoughts was crisp, clear, and serene. I spread new ideas never before seen. No one's laughing. Yo, my name is not Tom Green. This ain't no comedy shit. I speak on the real. Crusading for real music instead of trying to appeal. My voice expands with bass. It reaches all ears. Indiscriminate. Whether it be a dose of peers. Your worst fears that I expose it for who you are. Your fading memory I be revered like Bonaparte. Cause I'm a world citizen. Not confined no borders. Ideas so controversial. Need to restore order. I'm on my
Okay, yeah. So but I want to talk about one thing though.
crazy mentality, so don't mind me. Industry did a U-turn. Surprisingly, people try and find me like a crack spot. Meanwhile, across the world, boxing in Bangkok.
So this was obviously doesn't hold up too well for modern standards. But again, your first of anything, and again, I like to speak as somebody who's talking to prospective new musicians, right? Your first beat, your first song, your first guitar riff, your first song cover, your first painting, your first watercolor, like none of that's good. It's always going to be trash your first time. And then as you keep going, it's going to get better. That's just the rule of life. That's the rule that humans have to follow. You know what I mean? It's universal law, So But in my opinion, from topics we're going to talk about later, I can kind of see my inspirations and kind of me carving my path on the lyrics, my lyrical style, even this early on, and even this poorly done. I can see, for instance, like I say, hey,
We're across the world.
I said, people try and find me like a crack spot me while across the world boxing in Bangkok. Like, did that make sense? No, but it's kind of the style I do in terms of like, I like to do like more visual rap, more like descriptive rap. Hey, I'm here in Bangkok. Oh, I'm doing this. Like, it was, like I said, it wasn't done well here, but I'm saying that I can see kind of the beginnings of the big Obodo, or Hobbescast. I can see it, you know. But that answers the question on my end in terms of what was my first song. It was that, and I called myself Young LNC with a YUNG, which is like, yo, this is like some freaking preteen black kid right here. Like, it's so prototypical, my G. But hey, everybody goes through a phase before you discover who you are, you know. So Calvin, have you collaborated with any other artists? Have you done any notable collaborations in terms of, you know, like your music? In terms of, you know, like hey, you maybe jumped on somebody else's beat, or maybe you produced for someone or something like that, or maybe you just
For the most part, no. Not for any particular reason. I think when I was more, and nowadays, for the viewers listening, I don't really participate anymore in producing or recording. But during that whole during that era where I was heavily involved, so I would say there was a good 5 years max or minimum, and that's after the high school era. This is like, you know without giving away too much information, there was a good 5 straight years that I was really involved with producing. But no, I never. I wanted to. Sure, I wanted to, but I don't know. I guess for no particular reason, I just never did. Um, I know I've produced for you.
that's what I was gonna
I get
say,
I've
that you have done one. I mean, you know.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't want to count you out, but no. I mean, definitely. Emporio's Music Room, which is your track, which 100%. Uh, Shout out to you for using one of the beats that I produced, and without trying to stay super humble all the time. The fact is also, most creatives, there's a little competitiveness to them, and they kind of want to always, not everybody, but a lot of them do want to kind of one up themselves. And again, without staying humble, if I've sent you beats over the years and you've thought highly of a beat that I didn't think so, that wasn't one of the best ones I produced, or at least I know I could make a better one, then shout out to you for using it at all. And I do enjoy that track in Porio's Music Room. So yes, you are on that list. I've collabed with another artist for produced for. I don't think vocally. I don't think I've ever lent my vocals to another artist like that yet, or in the past. I don't No, I don't think so. I think I would remember if I've done that, but and as far as sending beats to other people, there may have been one other person. I don't think it was anything serious. I think it was more like this person was a rapper as well, and definitely made music on their own. I may have sent one just out of just spark a conversation per se, just to see if they would want more, see the reception. But I don't think that ever went anywhere either. So as far as formal collaborations, you have to be the only one. And again, in the past, I was definitely curious about it, or interested at least, but I think I was also more focused on just trying to master my own sound first. And part of that also means I want to send, if I am going to send beats out to people, then I wanted to make sure like it's something that I perceive they may like. And again, it's just that whole mentality. You can't be insecure when you're making creative projects, because a lot of times when you have imposter syndrome or you have self-doubt, you sabotage your entire creative process. And I'm sure there's plenty of beats that were top quality people would have taken, and I probably perceived it to be like, yo, this is actually trash. I'm going to delete it and nobody's ever going to hear from this ever. So that's also part of the reason why I could have not sent out beats in the past to other people, but probably you and this other one person, this other artist I can think about. And in the future, if you guys are watching this and you are musicians, aspiring rappers, whatever, you guys can definitely check out some of my stuff on my channel. The links will be down below. And yo, if you vibe with what I provide, definitely, your boy's definitely got a resume out here. But again, your boy's also not that active in that community anymore. But I'm always open to seeing what anybody has. If you think you have talent musically and you like what I provide, you guys can check it out on my channel. Here's some of the stuff I've uploaded to the public. Then yeah, shoot me a comment, DM. It's all good because your boy is still all ears in the music community.
Cool. Good to hear, man. Good to hear. Um, Good to hear. And yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out. And again, me and him have such different styles and positions in the craft historically, to where he's mainly been a producer. Me, I've mainly been MC. So just the nature of the question, it's gonna be heavily skewed towards me since I didn't start out producing. So I have to have a producer in order to make a song. So just from that fact alone, there's going to be collaborations on my end in terms of my chronology, in my timeline of music making. So like I said, in my case, having said that, yeah, I've collaborated with a lot of people. Let's see. In college, I was actually in a band called One in a Billion. Maybe you can find our debut CD. I'm not sure if you can, but good luck. But just throwing it out there. So that was a whole thing to where, of course, I had the main guy who started it was more of a music major in college, and he was a producer. But yeah, so I made many songs with that One in a Billion band. And also coming out of that, I've collaborated with a number of people. So now I'm here on my SoundCloud looking at this to where you have so after that I was in a more of a two group band with a producer called No Brand. And so we made a bunch of songs together. And mainly he was the one producing, So I just hop on his track. So it was No Brand and Hobbescast really. And so we done a bunch of songs there, and I can play some for you when I edit this podcast. And also did another song with a producer called Young Aros. So here, and again, I'm just trying to impart my knowledge to other people who will be coming up. So on Reddit, there's a subreddit called Making Hip Hop, I believe. And Making Hip Hop, they would do like weekly or monthly deals to where you can collaborate with other artists, to where you could request collaborations, and they have a whole sticky post, and you can show your style, show some of your work, and then you could collaborate with other people. Then they had a what do they call it? Like they had another post where you had to comment on somebody else's song and rate it, and then you could request a rating. So in order to request a rating, you had to rate somebody's song. So it was a massive group of people who were just giving critique on each other's music, It was so awesome. And the subreddit is still there, but I'm not sure how lively it is, especially given the recent changes of Reddit, the API, the creator. And you know what's the deal with that in terms of, it seems like most of these bigger social media sites are sinking ships, But I'm saying like back in the 2018, 17 era, like these are great sites to find other artists. So from that subreddit, I found a producer called Younger Roast, and I actually did a song with him He sent me like 2 or 3 beats what I wanted to do, and then I told him the one I wanted to do, and I start writing for it. And then here's the thing also for you younger people maybe watching, or anyone who wants to join hip hop. It's just like, normally you think, oh, well, I don't have the money for that. You know, I need to pay a producer, pay for a beat, do this. Maybe you should get a license for a beat, or get a, what do they call it? To where you buy the beat, you lease it, and they still have their audible watermark on it, you know, like, Young G on the beat. You know, they still have that. You can lease out the beat. It's not yours, but it's yours to use for a project. And you may or may not be able to commercially make money from it. But there's different levels to acquiring a beat from, you know, in a proprietary sense from another artist, right? But the thing is that if somebody likes your flow, likes your style, they won't even charge you, bro. They just want to work with you. So that's what happened with Younger Rose. It's like, yo, he sent me 2 or 3 beats, which one you want to do, stuff like this. I showed him, and maybe I sent him a sample, or maybe I sent him like a first recording or something. Then he's just like, nah, bro, you don't even need to pay me anything, you know, just use it, you know. And then each time I sent him samples of kind of the rough recordings before it was mixed and stuff like that, he's like, dude, I like it. Like, I like your, like, he fuck with my style, you know. So that's another thing. Like, it may take a while. If, like I say, if you're into hip hop, you're in this position now, but you can definitely like find a match made in heaven. Kind of find like a producer who likes your style, and then at that point, you guys are helping each other. So it's not a business transaction, you know. I'm not saying don't expect that, but I'm saying that it's possible. And so a lot of these times, that's what happened to where. But remember, you need to choose a beat or a producer style that matches your style. If you do more like trap, then choose that. If you do like me, more boom bap, more old school hip hop, then choose somebody who's making a beat like that. Because chances are he's looking for your sound, you know? So know your boundaries, but I mean, know like your style. But if so, and you're good at your craft, then people will pay you to get on their beat, you know what I mean? Even if you're not credentialed, you know what I mean? So to speak. So that's what happened with that song. And again, I can play it. The song is called Studiositas Reflectere. And I always like to be super deep in my names, even back when I was freaking, you know what I mean? Like 19 years old, 20, whatever. Like, I had like a lot of, that's like a Roman word. I mean, like a Greek word, I guess. But yeah, I can play a song for you, like I said. And that was a cool project. Went to a studio. At the time, it was like, what, $65, $75 an hour. Knocked that out. And I didn't really like the studio that I went to. I felt like he wasn't really professional in terms of knowing how to properly mix someone's song, you know? At the time, I couldn't do it. Now I can. But at the time, I would just export that to another person to do that job. And I felt like he didn't really know what I wanted, or he never really worked with people who did boom bap hip hop. I felt like he was more of a commercial producer, you know? So I don't really feel, and I'm sure you guys can hear it now. Let me go ahead and play it. Again, Calvin, you're not gonna be able to hear this, but so.
Gold slippers, slip into the coffin of a Tutankhamun. I'm internalized and copy my copies. Ill received, they responded like a kamikaze.
This is the one Young
but my
Rose
eyes
produced.
sees an Ayatollah. Late nights when I gain focus. Knew a girl named Matola. I had a crush on her like I'm trying to break boulders.
And you can hear, like, in my opinion, like the sound quality isn't there. It's like I'm using a cheap mic, but you'd assume that I'm using an expensive mic if I'm going to pay for an actual studio. You'd assume if you have the studio setting that it's a good microphone. Again, I was young. Maybe I didn't see the brand of the microphone, but this is something you have to watch out for too, by the way. A studio can be really cheap, but sometimes you don't want to go there. You want to go the one with the higher hourly pay, because that's the ones that's going to have a more professional microphone, who know what they're doing, who's produced for people in the industry. I remember this guy telling me, oh, I produce for Chingy. I produce for freaking, who's that Houston rapper? Paul Wall. I produced for this guy. He was telling me all these Southern rappers he produced for, you know, all this stuff, and as if like I'm the best, like, you know what I mean? But you hear the quality. Again, am I lying? Let me play it.
My car's folded, my area code is an old Texas Hold'em. Dallas native. Cousins come south, thought we raise cattle. The brink comes with the.
It's like now, if I knew what I knew now, I could do a better job mixing than that, you know? So that's something I have to watch out for, but that's my experience. And obviously, you know, Calvin, you know, we've done a lot offline, but in terms of Emporio's music room, you guys, it's on my Big Obodo channel. I'll play it here, but that one was amazing song. He produced it. I said, let me jump on it. I got the export from him. I mixed it. I recorded it. I mixed it. And then with the help of Calvin, who was a cameraman, this is the first ever song I made a complete music video to. So it's an amazing experience. Definitely a notch off the bucket list, you know? And yeah, so that's my experience. I'm early on collaborating with a lot of people, but now I produce myself and I make my own beats. So I don't need to collaborate with other people, which I plan to in the future, but it's not necessary anymore. And so that definitely died down. But yeah, I mean, it's been a mixed bag. And again, it's just all about finding somebody who likes your style, you know, and somebody who can give you critique, honest critique, you know, who's not afraid of you or who's not afraid to critique you, you know what I mean? Or who's not a people pleaser. That's also important too, to where they can be with you in the studio. It's not your homies or your friends. They can be in the studio with you. And after you come out from the booth, then they'll let you know, like, nah, that wasn't good. Or, hey, can you say this? Or, you know what I mean? They'll let you know. So you actually have people worthy of your time in the booth with you when you record it. You know what I mean? So that's my spiel on that. All right, Calvin, next question. So this is an interesting one. So Calvin, what is your favorite song of mine? And vice versa, what is my favorite song of yours and why?
Like favorite song like that you made?
Yeah. What is each other's favorite songs? What is my favorite song that you made? What is your favorite song that I made and why?
Gotcha. All right.
And I might give you two, by the way. So I'm not sure how much you're gonna give me.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's funny because I have two. There's only two that comes to mind from your discography. Dreams of Pilaf and Mariah's Conquering Wind. I think those two are my favorite that you've made. Those are two different styles for sure. I put Dreams of Pilaf. It was number one for a long time, but Mariah's Conquering Wind kind of grew on me.
Oh, really?
It overtook. Yeah. I just, from the instrumental, Mariah's Conquering Wind, and also just everything you said in that song, the lyrics, the cadence, the delivery. This is not saying Dreams of Pilaf was bad, no. But in comparison, if I had to choose one, it was Dreams of Pilaf. But then Mariah's Conquering Wind eventually overtook that position at number one. And why? Again, because overall, Mariah's Conquering Wind, story you told through the lyrics, the beat, I really enjoy that beat. I actually enjoy that beat more than Dreams of Pilaf.
Mm.
And again,
Wow.
I think also, I don't know, Mariah's Conquering Wind is more like, I don't know. You do have you do have a certain way of rapping, but it has to be because of the lyrics. I want to say the lyrics is the X factor here. Just what you said in Dreams of Pilaf is not the same in Mariah's Conquering Wind, and I think that's what keeps coming back to mind. Why is this better? Why is this better? It was because if you go back and replay the song, it's like you just kind of listen to what you're saying. So I would say Dreams of Pilaf and Mariah's Conquering Wind, but as of now, favorite song that you've made, it has to be Mariah's Conquering Wind. So shout out to you. That song is.
That's what's
I
up, man.
probably know that song by memory. I would say 90% without looking at the lyrics.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up, bro. Yeah, we listen to each other's music a lot, by the way. I fuck with that, man. I fuck with that. All right, my turn. And I wish I had the song on me. I don't know why. I'm looking for this song while you're talking. I don't have it on me. Which I'm gonna have to ask you for that tape again, bro. Which I'll mention later. So, number one, you already know what I'm about to say, bro. Honestly, you may not remember creating it. You may not remember the associated video you released with it, you know? But me, I remember all of it, you know? And I am talking about your beat, Mary Jane. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Like I said, to me, that's just an era-defining beat, you know? And I believe, again, let me just play it as I talk right now. Maybe too long. This is the beat I'm talking about. Let's see if you can hear this playing. But this is the beat I'm talking about. No real samples, just the virtual instruments. And it sounds more like an anthem. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a band can come out and be playing this before a football game. Really, that's kind of what it sounds like. And then you have the main horns that were released. Now you just have the little the main melody. You know what I mean? Just a classic producing style. I like the taunt, the shakers. You know what I mean? It's simple, but it works. That's always Calvin's style. It's like it sounds like it has like a lot of video game influence in my opinion. You know? And it's simple, but there's moody. You know? I was telling you that like he was doing this style before like Lil Yachty and even like got these like the name of these rappers like in the mid 2010s, you know, who kind of adopted this style of like I would say like more video game influence, more snap pop type of beats, you know. And like I said, in my opinion, it's just this sounds and feels like an anthem, you know. And it just reminds me of an era, you know. And I've had this beat on my computer for over a decade, you know what I mean? So how many times of playing it again over the course of, you know, like intermittently, I guess. So I'm surprised I never used it on a video, but yeah, man, that's my first is the Mary Jane. I know it's an old one, but it's this to me just classic. My second one, which I don't have on me, it's gonna be a song from your Dracula tape, bro. You know? And it's the song, it's the song Nightcrawler. Actually, it's that song, you know? But like I said, he had a tape called Dracula that he released. When was that? Like 2015? 2014, 15? You say?
Yeah, 2014. It's not online anymore, guys. But there was a little EP mixtape I had called Dracula, and that's actually what Hobbs is referring to. Yeah.
And so he had a song called Nightcrawler, Nyan Cat. He had a bunch of songs in there. But the Nightcrawler one, that one's the one that had like the like that was the one that had the mood of like you felt like you were on some Frankenstein Dracula type shit, like on some Sin City type shit. And then I liked your cadence, your flow on that song too. I hit you with a night, and I'm like, oh shit, I make a rap like that, you know? Until where you flowed on that nicely, in my opinion, you know? But yeah, I always like songs with a mood, whether it's through the melody or through the lyrics. Like I love that, you know? And here's the instrumental. Again, if he still has it, I have to ask him for the song, but this is the instrumental to the song. And again, it's very video game, very BGM-esque. I'm not sure if Calvin agrees, but to me, that's what I get from your beats. I can tell it's a Calvin beat, you know? It's like some 8-bit music, like on Castlevania or something, I don't know. Without the melody, you know? And it got some thump to it, you know? And so, just to imitate him, he's like, shoot the one with the night. I had the cape, I got you like a this, like a this, like a this, like he was rapping like that, you know? I was like, damn, this track is fire, bro. But, you know, that's my second. It would be cool if I had the song. I'll ask him after the podcast, you know, if he has it. But it's just instrumental. You can already tell how this thing, bro. So yeah, that's my 2. I know it's a question of 1, but me and him gave 2, so that's our answer. You know, like I said, our links to what's available will be in the description. So, all right, next question. So Calvin, do you prefer to keep music making as a hobby, or did you ever want to be a part of a record label as a signed artist?
Um, starting out. I mean, it's all for fun, for sure. It's for fun. But at some point, you are curious about what is a full time musician? What is in this case specifically? What if I was a full time producer slash hip hop artist? Because now we're kind of breaking the fourth wall. Everything that we grew up with hearing, and then now we practice with friends and self-taught personal. You go into adulthood and you're like, okay, what is this like as a career? Getting money off of it now. So the answer would be yes. At one point I did wanted to pursue music with the goal of being signed to a label, expectingly, I mean, assumingly, not assumingly, but more indie label, not major label. When you get into that, that's and if you guys know about record labels, then or the music industry in general, there is a clear distinctive difference between being signed to an indie label and a major label. And yeah, you can say, well, Calvin, that's just here nor there, but no, I mean, when it comes down to legal contracts and things like that, and paychecks and royalties and all of that, at one point I wanted to pursue music full time and have that as a occupation. It would be more like I wanted that for the indie label. And um there's been times where I decided to go 100% into this, and every intent I had was towards the sole purpose of getting, how would you say, noticed, or getting at least qualified enough that I would think a record exec out there would like my catalog, what I had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
But as time went on, and uh things come into light, meaning more research, more, just life goes on in general. I decided that that's not what I wanted ultimately for myself, and it hasn't stopped me from making music. Obviously, we make music, then we do it. If we don't, then we don't. But as far as trying to have that full time, that lifestyle, that we at one point dreamed about as kids, sure. I mean, it is what it is. But as of now, I don't have any aspirations to make that a reality anymore. The closest I was actually earlier this year. A shout out to Mecca. I think Mecca Rashawn from My Expert Opinion on YouTube, guys. They have a big following. You can search them, Matt Hoffa, and the entire crew. I had a consultation with Mecca Rashawn, and it wasn't anything exclusive to me, but he had more like an open submission for calling all artists type thing. And yeah, I know, but I had a legitimate consultation with him, and if had I proceeded, he would have gone over my music, and who knows what would have happened beyond that point. And he is a record, as far as I know, he's like a, I don't know if he's an A&R or an exec, but he's definitely in, he has position of power slash authority, or I mean, because he is the one going over the music for anybody. So either he would be the one to make the final decision, or his boss would, but he's definitely in that process involved. So he was out of a record label in New York called Viper Records, which is an indie record label. And again, guys, this was earlier this year. And did that just to show you how my mindset switched completely from just a couple months ago. But that was the closest I would say in my path that I actually had getting to that next step of, okay, I put my music online. Whatever reception I've had, it is what it is. But let me try to go that quote unquote professional route and see what, paid professionals have to say about this. And I was, I was ready for whatever happened. I was open to criticism. I was open to compliments, things I could work on. But ultimately, like I said, I didn't proceed with this. And as of now, I don't have any plans to try to pursue that music full time anymore. But it was always definitely in your mind, in my mind at least, how would this be? How would this actually work out, this lifestyle? And but it doesn't take away the love for music. Making music versus getting paid to make music, sure, that's subjective. Everybody would say answer that differently. As for me, coming from Calvin Cabana, I don't need to get paid to make music at all. Being signed to a label, I'm totally content with continuing to make music and uploading it on my own channel or my own platform and just leaving it at that level. But again, at one point I did, yes, I was curious about what it'd be like to be a professional musician for sure.
For me personally, I could never be a part of a label or have music as my job, because the way I write and make music, I like to write. This is where my true perfectionist comes in, which again can be a drawback in many ways. But in terms of writing lyrics in particular, not in terms of beat making, I can make a beat. I've made a beat in one day. I made Dreams of Peel Off in one day. I made Mariah's Conquering Wind. I made that in just a couple days. As in a couple days, not the whole day, just a couple sessions that were like 1 to 2 hours long, But when it comes to writing lyrics, then I take that very seriously, and I want to say exactly how I want to say it, right? Because I always say that, whenever you're a poet, it's not like speaking the normal English language. It's not like that, because poetry is beyond any word or any language that man can make. Because when you make a language, you're you have to adhere. You're kind of imprisoned by the rules of that language. Again, the sentence structure, the diction, the word choice, the vowels, the consonants. You know what I'm saying? You're imprisoned by that when it comes to saying what you want to say, because really what we want to say comes from here, the corazon, comes from the heart. And then that there's no language for that, you know what I mean? So any character selection that you use comparing a fighting game to language, any character you select in a fighting game, it's going to have this attributes that are good, and they're going to have these drawbacks. This may be a grappler character, but he's going to be slow. It's like, think about that in terms of language. Any language going to have advantages, disadvantages, but it's not going to be your true voice. Your true voice is when you are allowed to speak beyond the conventions of your language. You know what I'm saying? And that is the power of poetry. So because of that, I can actually be a true perfectionist when I start writing, right? And I can actually say what the hell I want to say, like 100%, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because I can not make sense sometimes, but that makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I wrote it, So why couldn't I have this as a job and have deadlines when it comes to making a certain album, getting this out by this date so that this record label can do this, so I can go on this tour? Because it takes me a long ass time to write a song, bro. Because to me, I'm like doing 300%, trying my best, researching, using my life experience. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't just, I'm not talking, I'm doing poetry, right? So to me, this is like this only deserves my best effort, and that's why it takes so long to do, and that's why I couldn't be restricted to a deadline, or couldn't be restricted to what people want to hear. Because when it's a job, then you have to essentially, you as a poet, as a hip-hop artist, you're commissioning your talents, because hey, your fans want to hear this type of song, so make this type of song, make this type of album, this is what's hot. You have so many answering heads you have to answer to, and you're commissioned by your fans. But if you're not, and this is just not in song making, this is just in creative works in general. Like, if I don't, right now I'm doing animation that somebody commissioned me to do, so I have a certain deadline I have to hit, and they're paying me to do this, and so they want it in this certain way. This isn't me, this isn't what I would choose to do. Yeah, it is, but you know what I'm saying? The subject matter, like the length, the style, this is, I have to send my samples to the commissioner, If I chose to do animation without getting paid, then I can do anything I want, And then I'll make what I truly feel deserves to be put out in the world. So similar to that when it comes to lyrics, is like sometimes it'll take me months to write a song. Real shit. Sometimes I'll be like, I don't know what to say, and then I'll shelve it until one day I'm out here on a boat. Now, one day I'm out here on a train or a boat or in an Uber, and I see a sign at Staples Center, shout out to LA, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I like the word they use for that billboard. And then I'll go back in my song lyrics, my app called Standard Notes, and then so that's the missing puzzle that I should have said. I this song like 2 months ago. In terms, I tried to start writing for this song. Meanwhile, the beats change, shit like this. You know what I mean? And so it's all one slow puzzle that gets together, and that's why I released Dreams of Pilaf, Mariah's Conquering Wind, shit like that. So I know it went on super long, but that's why personally I couldn't do that for me, because this is something to where I don't expect any payment. You could call it a vanity project, but this is something to where I want to come back to and be like, oh, I like that song. Because think about me. If I make a song and I make a great song, that can be replayed in a variety of different formats on your computer, on your phone, in the car, on the speakers, in a store. Music is so replicable in different settings, you know what I mean? But when you make that song, it's forever immortalized as that song. So when you put a good effort on that song, then you see how powerful that is in terms of like, like it's a little time capsule, and I can open it up and I can be transported to a different world. You know what I mean? So it's very important that you make a good song, in my opinion. So that's why I like to make songs to where people can come back to it and be like, oh, wow. And it's very layered. That's the thing about a lot of complex boom bap hip hop. It's very layered to where you can come back and you're older, you get that reference. Or, oh, and now I played that game, I get that reference. Especially when we start referencing video games, anime, stuff like this. History, shit like that. Shout out to Tesla's Ghost. He always raps about Roman generals and history and stuff like that. Like, well, as I got older, I figured out that, like, oh, I get what he means. So it's a evolving song. It's like a living, breathing track, kind of like the Constitution. That's what they say about it, you know? So that was super long, but that's my reason to why I like to keep it as a hobby, you know? Because in order for it to be made appropriately, it can only be a hobby. I mean, it can only be uncontrolled, you know? So, yeah. Calvin, question 8. As independent MCs and multidisciplinary artists, I personally always strive to influence others that anyone can be creative, and in this case, anyone can make music. So a big hurdle for that, in my opinion, is the setup. So can you describe like what equipment you use and how you procured it, or how you like purchased it or acquired it, and like the cost, thoughts, you know?
Yeah, the equipment over the years is pretty much the same. You may upgrade, parts here and there, but usually it's a laptop or a computer, a desktop. I've always used a laptop. That's just me, but I've always had a laptop. Um, a microphone helps. And again, it's if you want high quality sound, usually that goes hand in hand with high quality equipment, which means more money, more investment you'll have to make in your purchase. But if that's what you want, you're trying to get that, then it's part of the process. For me, it's still to this day the Blue Yeti mic. I know that there's hundreds of more mics on the market, but the Blue Yeti still holds up to this day. Its reputation is very well known. It has its own legacy, and I would say for music recording, vocals, really anything, but in this case, music, vocals. I recommend the Blue Yeti. This is not sponsored or anything. It's just what I've been using this whole time, and I'm really comfortable with it. It's an easy setup to use, and it comes in different colors and things like that. And so, the Blue Yeti mic is what I've been using ever since the last, I want to say 7 years or so. Probably been around longer than that, but I got it about 7 years ago. And it still holds up to this day. I've never dropped it or anything. And if there are any audio issues, it's usually through the software rather than the physical microphone, the device in front of me.
Mm.
And anything else that I've I like I said, I've never had a chance to use a MIDI keyboard.
Oh, like this one?
Exactly like that. Is that a MIDI keyboard also?
Yeah. Oh.
Nice, nice. Are you planning to?
Oh, let me get the camera out the way. Yes, a mini keyboard. I'm not sure how good it is. What's the brand right here? What's this? Novatron. The camera's backwards, but Novatron. Similar to what you just said, I haven't had a chance to use it too, but it's on my to-do list in terms of try this out. You know?
Yeah, it definitely helps for sure. If you guys are into music production and you can afford a MIDI keyboard, there's different budget within the ranges, but it definitely helps in terms of producing. Once you have something like that, it gives you even more access. It gives you more. It's more. You're more versatile when producing beats. And again, I've never had a chance to use one just because I've never purchased one. I was never really interested in the past, also up until now. So, in other words, if every beat I've ever produced in FL Studio was through the keyboard, because that's how you would use it. And like the MIDI keyboard that Hobbs has, you would plug it in through your computer, and instead of using your keyboard, you can now, use your piano per se, the keys on that keyboard to do your production. And there are different other things um, that I haven't been able to experience also just because of my own choice. I've always just been comfortable using what I've been using again. And it's not that I'm not open to doing any additional peripherals, but I just don't have experience in that. So really my consistent equipment has been really the same over the years: a laptop, a microphone, and that's it. Pretty much that. Software would be FL Studio, and I use Audacity to record the vocals, and I may have one time used another recording software. I don't remember the name of it, but probably didn't stick around with it. Usually it's Audacity just because it works, and it's real simple to use. And just those three elements all put together, you can make some pretty decent stuff, decent sound. And again, with your own talent, skill, no, sometimes nobody will even tell the difference. Sometimes people will mistake that as like, yo, you go to actual studio. See, you have more studio time than I do. I've never actually been to a studio to record or just whatever. So all the recordings I've ever done was from my room with the equipment I just named. But as far as going to a studio, also, yeah, I've been curious about doing that. Just again, it's just been on my to-do list. Never got around to do it and stuff like that. But keyboard, microphone, possibly a MIDI keyboard, I would say. And yeah, good luck, guys. Get in the studio, bring that idea to reality. It's worked for me. It's worked for infinite amount of other people. And as also it goes to a lot of times people say like, yeah, you kind of mentioned this earlier. Also, like, how do I get into hip hop? What do I need?
Yeah.
Do I need an actual starter kit? What, and if I do, what's included? What is a starter kit? The honest answer is like, if you guys ever heard about getting started on YouTube, do I need a fancy DSLR camera? The answer is no. If you ever heard any top YouTuber tell you yes, you do, then every top YouTuber who says that, there's another top YouTuber that says no, you don't. You just need your cell phone, your iPhone, assumingly. It could be an Android, also Samsung, but you don't need the fancy equipment to get started. You do need the fancy equipment, and I don't mean high end stuff. If you guys really don't want to purchase those, that's 100% understandable. But just know that, yeah, high quality product also brings high quality sound. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the invention of certain devices. It is an investment. You just have to decide, is it worth the investment? But to get started, no, you don't need a fancy laptop, a Blue Yeti mic. Hobbs just admitted she's used a $10 mic to make that song. And we've actually shout out to that because I think maybe I used to record even before I got a Blue Yeti. I either used like a USB headset or a cell phone.
Well, Xbox 360 has that. Look at that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I would just get off of the Call of Duty match and then just unplug that headset. So you don't need the fancy equipment. If you do, then you decide if it's worth it. But to get started, just general, no, you don't. You do need obviously some sort of device. And again, laptop, microphone, software, and like that's it. Everything else is additional for a reason, and it does have its benefits if you decide to include that in your arsenal per se. But for me, I've always just had those three basic things and try to make the best of what I've had.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Work with what you have. Well, first, let me say my equipment. So, as you can see here from when I'm talking through here, I have a SE Dynacaster microphone. This is about a $300 microphone. Now, does that sound expensive? Yes, but I've been recording, whether it's through music or YouTube content or streaming. I've been doing that for over 8-9 years. Some form of any of those three activities. So I went from, like I said, $10 microphone, which I couldn't even name. I went to a $20 microphone, which with also an Amazon pop filter that I bought. And then I went from that to a USB Audio Technica 2020, not the XLR cable one. Not the XLR cable one, but the USB one, right? So the one that's regarded as shitty for music aficionados for years. Don't get the USB AT 2020. Get the one that plugs into audio interface. I've used that one, and that's the one I use to record. What I use to record that? I use that to record in Porgo's Music Room. I use that to record freaking Dreams of Peel Off. I use that to record most of my stuff and all my best YouTube videos, which has thousands of views, like my Tekken. By the way, if you didn't know, I also do FGC related content like fighting games and stuff. So my best videos, I used a Audio Technica 2020 USB version, ones that's regarded as crappy in the music making community. You know what I mean? Got crystal clear vocals with that, by the way. So your equipment doesn't matter as much. I have this $300 SE Dynacaster because I just want to upgrade, and because my other device, by the way, is a M Audio Air 192.4. It has 4 input slots. It's an audio interface, so I needed a microphone to plug into my new audio interface because I want to upgrade kind of my recording setup since I decided I wasn't going to go to studios anymore. So I want to record on my own. So I want to build kind of like a studio where I live. And so that's why I bought an audio interface. Not because, oh, I hear all the cool kids are doing it. Not because, oh, that's the best you can. No, it's because it was for a need. Because I've had many run-ins and situations with studios in terms of recording, mixing, questionable mixing, asking for the full export, not getting messages back. Even for Dreams of Peel Off, I still don't have the full export of that, and the guy still hasn't gotten back to me like all these years later in terms of, hey, can I have this export so I can maybe work on it a little bit, and there's so many little things when it comes to recording in terms of, hey, the compression, I didn't like the plugin you use for a compressor, the de-esser. Of course, if you care about this, then you already have a producer mindset, right, in terms of mixing and mastering. So I can't control that if I'm doing a studio, so I had to like do it on my own. So like I said, audio interface, I have this SE Dynacaster microphone. I have this Hosa XLR cable, which plugs in from my microphone to my audio interface. Have a USB hub that has more USB slots so that I won't run out. I have two, I don't remember the size of these speakers, but these are two, I don't even know the brand of this. What is the brand? Let me see, sorry. Okay, yeah, I have two Presonic 3.5 inch Bluetooth speakers that are to my left and right. You can't see it. So this is, again, a big help in order to play back the music that I record. So I don't have to focus on my headphones. Before I did that, I had to go to the car. I had to go on my phone, my tablet. I even used to play it on people's Bluetooth speakers just to try and hear my recording in multiple, which is what they always tell you as a hip hop, as an artist in general, but hip hop. It's like, hear your recording on multiple outputs in order to mix. So I used to literally have a checklist of process. I used to check like car, house, headphones, didn't have speakers, Bluetooth speakers, this. Sometimes I'd ask a friend to play it. I sent it to him, or through AirDrop. It's like, this was my process before I have studio quality equipment, right? But now if you just have two good sets of studio monitors, then that is pretty accurate. It should be pretty accurate. And I would recommend putting it on stands so that the vibration doesn't distort the sound quality. But yeah, so I went from, like I said, $10 microphone Audacity to FL Studio. Then I went from the FL Studio, like the first edition. Then I bought the producer edition that comes with the more plugins. I only bought that because I was making a trap beat and I wanted to use a plugin that can extend the length of certain audio samples. I couldn't do that. That plugin was only on the producer edition. That's why I bought the producer edition. I never bought anything just because I saw a tutorial and that's what they use, or a recommendation on a Reddit post. I did that because, hey, I want to do this function and I can't do it. Maybe like Dreams of Pilaf. I'm not gonna lie, I did use a pirated version when I was a kid of FL Studio, and that had Citrus and Ogun, but that had the complete editions of those. That's the only reason I was able to make Dreams of Pilaf, because that was you had to. That doesn't come with the normal edition, because when I bought FL Studio, because it was like $200 or some shit, and then it was lifetime updates. So okay, ethically I can support that. FL Studio's a blender of freaking audio DAWs. Like, that is the new kid on the block, but they're doing things right. Again, with the amount of studio time I have, I can tell you the horrors of freaking Reaper and Pro Tools. I hate those softwares, FL Studio is great. And they're reasonable. So I bought it. But then I couldn't even work on Dreams of Pilaf anymore because it uses a plugin that I didn't purchase. And it's just like, you know how expensive certain plugins are. They can be really pricey, So you have to find them on sale, stuff like this. But even still, it's just like, wow, it's better just to buy like a higher edition that comes with those plugins. So anyway, now I have the second tier of FL Studio only because I was making a beat and I needed to save. It lets you try it, but it doesn't let you save your project unless you have the plugin. So that's my, also I have a Rode microphone stand, like the good one. And again, I went through two different stands and I've had problems with it. It didn't bend all the way. Sometimes it will break. Sometimes the arm would get like stiff, and there wasn't an easy or spot to tighten it. But the Rode microphone stand, you just have it in one slot. It rotates like this. It's so much more simpler than any other Amazon stand you can get, if you're going to set up on a desk. So that's my equipment. Audio interface, SE Dynacaster. By the way, last thing I'm going to say is that for your microphone, like, you want to get a microphone that is compatible with your audio tone. If you have like a warmer voice, if you have like a more higher pitched voice, you want to know what type of voice you have, and then get a microphone that adheres to that. So for me, I was going to buy the Shure SM7B, the classic one, $400. Everybody uses that, from podcasters to hip hop artists, whatever the fuck. But the price tag was super heavy, and did I need that? Then I was researching, and then this SE Dynacaster was a new one. This costs $100 less, and through certain settings, you can get it to have the same quality. And then you can look at audio tests on YouTube of people testing out the two microphones. Some people even use professional singers and they sing in both microphones. That's the video I watched. And it's just like, bro, this is good. And this one has 3 toggles. You can't see it right here. If you can see it right here, see these switches right here? It has 3 toggles, and you can edit the tone of the microphone to where you can turn up like the, like the treble, the this, but it's like you can actually, like, you can essentially, this is like 3 different microphones in one, to where switching, it's a high quality microphone, and it already comes with the pop filter inside here, so you don't need a traditional pop filter. But when you change the settings, it turns into like a different microphone in terms of the settings. So you can just set it to where it's better for your voice. And then bam, now I have it to the setting to where it's more similar to a Shure, and you can't even tell the difference between this and the Shure, So that's why I decided. I recorded Mariah's Conquering Wing with this, and I think it's a very good quality microphone in my opinion. So yeah, that's the equipment I use. Like I said, just start small, and it's important to make what you want to make. And once you do that, you'll discover, what would you want to use next time? What works, what didn't. It's the most important thing. Sounds cliche, but just doing it, So that's my equipment, so to speak, and my thoughts on it. So all right, Calvin, I'm gonna get you out of here, man. So Calvin, question 9. Any recent song releases?
No, no, no. The last anything I've ever released was probably from my mixtape. December 2022. You guys want to go check that out? Link will be down below. The Calvin Cabana Show EP. And those songs I worked on throughout 2022. And as far as 2023, I haven't released anything yet. The night is still young. We're still out here, but we're also busy with other endeavors currently, right? But no, I haven't released anything yet except that mixtape back in December 2022.
Okay, cool. Briefly for me, I actually did recently release a song. It's actually on my Bandcamp currently, and it's called The Interruption of the 360th Ritual. Now, this song was kind of a leftover lyrics from Mariah's Conquering Wind. And what I like about FL Studio is that you can kind of be a DJ, so to speak, if you make your song based on the channel rack, and you have it based on like loops, because I'm a boom bap person, so you can sort of be a DJ by playing your song and then constantly cycling between your various channel racks, as if you're like scratching the record, And so from that, I come up with I make beats just from cycling through the channel rack and seeing the various cuts and seeing how it mixes and together. That's how I made the 360th Ritual. Like, I like that loop and that combination of the various samples and stuff. So that's how that happened. I wrote that over a period of like a couple months or whatnot. It has 3 verses. Only problem with it, and again, this is my most recent release, is that I went to a studio here in LA, and first off, the city's so expensive, and second off, everything looked good. I recorded it. It was cool. Sat in the booth, got out of the booth, was with him. He was mixing it. He was putting a bunch of different plugins there. I don't use Pro Tools. I'm an FL Studio user, so I can't really tell what he's actually doing to it. I can hear it. It sounds good. He has much bigger speakers than me. It sounds good. But then I play it back after everything's said and done. I'm playing back through my output. It's just like, he did a good job for a different artist, but for someone like me, and that's the thing, like, a lot of these, you don't know if they work with artists of your style. This is the benefit of being a artist in the industry or being signed. You're gonna have a producer who knows you, who only works with you, maybe, or who you're his primary, lyricist, right? But if you just go to anybody else, they may not know your sound. They may not know what you're going for, even if you try and say it. Especially when it comes to mixing, they assume, okay, you didn't pay for just studio time, which you can, and then you can bring your own computer and you can mix yourself. You just need a room, or you can pay for an engineer to be there. But if you pay for an engineer to be there, they feel like, okay, I take the reins and I'm just gonna do what I want to do. But no, I have mixing experience too. So I'm saying that disconnect happens to where you end up getting a final product to where the mixing he does on your vocals may not be how you want it. So where it kind of sounds overproduced in terms of my lyrics, in my opinion. So I'm not really happy with how the song came out, if that makes sense. So right now I'm in a process of asking like, hey, can I, well, he gave me the full export, of course, which is cool. Which is which is the professional thing to do. You pay for the studio time, you should be able to get your export of your project, not the export of the song or the in WAV format, but your project, like the actual project of the DAW you used, you know? Only problem is I don't use Pro Tools. I don't have any interest in learning to use Pro Tools, and I don't care to purchase it, which will most certainly be an expensive purchase in order to open my project. So then I asked him, hey, can you, well, this is the only request. That was by default that you give the project files. But then I asked him, hey, I asked the studio, can you guys just export just the vocals alone, you know? So I'm still in the process of waiting for them to respond back. But this is like the third, fourth time I have a problem with getting the correct export you want, you know? Which I think they do that on purpose to keep you coming back, you know, if you need services to get more money or something. But this is just a warning to people, is like, start sooner than later in terms of if you want to make music, you want to make hip hop, start sooner in terms of trying to do things on your own, whether it's just recording, whether it's just mastering, whether it's just uploading your songs yourself. Just try and do more stuff your own, like yourself, because only you know like how you want it, you know, unless you have somebody who's trustworthy, maybe you have a sibling, a friend, or whatever. But you guys know what I mean. It's like, end of the day, it's going to be better if you learn how to do it yourself and do that, which I have. It's just when I relocated to a different city, I didn't have the resources as like I do in my past city to make a whole song on my own. So I'm still work in progress though. So that was my recent release. Sorry, that was a long time, but yeah. Next question. Hey Calvin, any plans of a future release? Any future releases planned?
I mean, yeah, generally speaking, sure. But anything, I'm not currently working on anything at all. So if I did have anything released, it might be maybe towards the end of the year. And even then it won't, like, because I'm not working on anything and there's nothing cooking in the kitchen. If it was released, it may be just one song. But you know, as opposed to last year, I was able to work out 10 songs kind of towards the end of the year, but that was considering I worked on those songs throughout 2022. But then again, in 2023, I'm doing totally something different in my personal life compared to 2022. So generally speaking, yes, but as of now, I'm not working on anything, so I can't really give uh, a date on that.
But it's gonna be similar to me. Similar to you is that to me, there's no guarantees for music. I'll always have it, but there's things immediately up on the pitch. You know what I mean? To where I can't focus my time on music when something else is going on. But then later on, I'll return to it. So for me, I actually do have concrete projects. Off the top of my head, I have a song called Basilisk Station. And it's going to be a recording of one verse. And I'm going to be rapping as if I'm a captain on a ship that's going to explode. Think of like Star Trek or something like that. Something like Space Battles. And I'm going to be rapping like I'm a captain. And the lyrics are going to cut out. The ship is going to explode. It's going to be very cinematic. More like an experimental song. Also, I'm going to make a whole animation to that song too. So it's going to be a lot of hats I'm going to wear in order to make this. Now, when is that coming out? Again, it's going to be similar to Calvin, to where I don't have a date for that. I have so many other things that are ahead of that. But I'll make it a point to write down my ideas to revisit at a later date. But that's my future music plan. Another second music plan is to I have a beat that I actually used on the animation featuring Ryo Sakazuki and Yuri. Shout out to Art of Fighting and King of Fighters. And I used the beat I made in order to showcase the animation I made of them doing a walk cycle. So I'm actually going to improve that beat. And I want to collaborate with a certain guy. I'm not going to name his name. He might be watching this right now. Probably he's watching this. Since we're fans of each other too. Similar to Calvin. So this is going to be the first time I'm going to make a beat and I'm going to get another artist to rap on my beat. I've never done that before. So we're going to do a joint project and it's going to be a more fighting game related song. So it's going to be awesome once I eventually get to it. But again, I have so much other stuff on my plate right now, but that's my 2 future releases. So, okay, last question. Last question. I know you like to hear this.
Hey, shout out to your questions. This was very enlightening experience.
My last question is, why rhythm and poetry and not any other genre? Why did you decide to rap and not do something else or a different genre?
Well, I don't want to sound contradicting, but I guess I have to give explanation. Okay, so I may have mentioned this at the very beginning. If you guys rewind all the way back to the beginning, I mentioned I grew up with music in the household, all different types of music, and including the radio station and going out to different people's places, different locations outside the household. Music was, everywhere, right? So, but one of the rappers, or one of the musicians or artists I named was a Filipino rapper named Andrew E. But coincidentally, he was also one of the first just artists in general, music playing that I remember at an early age. I mean, it could have been Celine Dion, it could have been anybody, but it happened to be a rapper. And I think that definitely played a part into why I go towards more that direction. Kind of like, you're influenced by your environment. Well, a lot of the music I heard early on, believe it or not, other than maybe video game music and just random songs, as far as I can remember, choosing music to play, inserting a CD, because during that era we had CDs. It had to be that rapper Andrew E. So that definitely introduced me to the world of rap, and from there, I just went on my own. But as time grew on, I always envisioned that alter ego, that artist Calvin Cabana, was not necessarily 100% hip hop. And if you guys will see, because you, Hobbs, you have a unique insight on my journey. And even though I do portray myself as a rapper, that's something I do. But as we all know, rap has been shown through other music categories per se. So, for example, I've never considered myself 100%. Well, I did consider myself hip hop, but when I would say that, it's more like alternative hip hop, if you would have to say, because yes, I'm rapping, but it's also over electronic beats, video game type esque beats. So it's not your traditional what you would know of hip hop, but it's definitely not rock. It's not, jazz per se also. But with that mixtape I mentioned earlier, the Calvin Cabana show, there was a couple songs on there that I try to go in the direction of pop. And generally speaking, in music history, pop is a blended fusion of a lot of different elements.
Good point.
So just creating all of these things at one time, I figured, um, towards the end, or not towards the end, but towards my evolution as it progresses with Calvin Cabana, I wanted to make that more of a pop artist, more of the music that would come out from that point on would be considered pop. So whenever you would hear music from that point on, if he's rapping, then great. If he's maybe singing a melodic hook, then cool. Maybe during the verse he would rap and then later he would, I don't know, maybe sing it out, things like that. But I always try to at least show that I'm not, because I didn't really want to be put in a box also. I don't think that's a good idea anyways. But again, that's relative depending on the context of the situation. But in my case, Calvin Cabana really belong in a pop category. Just because I believe that every track I've made, not since the beginning, but every track that I've made until from that point, I realized that, hey, I don't want to be put in a box. And also just the experimental sounds I was fusing in different numerous tracks. This is including unreleased tracks that I've deleted. It just couldn't belong in hip hop. It was too much of an anomaly, or it was just too not awkward, or it didn't follow the line. And a lot of people mistaken, yo, he's rapping, so this has to be hip hop. Well, it's 100% understandable because rap comes from hip hop, right? That's what it's associated with. But it has to, for me, I try to intend it to make like, yo, this is pop music. So whatever you hear, know that it's a fusion blend of like so many different sounds. And if you hear rap again, that's because I intended that. But I try to make it where it's universally speaking, just a great song. And that's not always easy to capture that sound because you're talking about you have to make a song that everybody agrees, like, hey, you know what? I don't know English, but like I don't know what he's saying in English, but it sounds like a good song. And if you guys heard K-pop, I don't know Korean, but there's many K-pop songs where I'm like, yo, this is a bop. This is a this is a banger. And if you understand music, it's like, okay, I get it. So from the early years, why rap? I would say because the first music I've ever heard in these ears just happened to be rap. It happened to be that one rap artist, and from there, I explored more other rap artists, hip hop. But as far as my personal music, uh, towards the second half of the evolution, I try to make it more a fusion blended style. I didn't want to be, categorized in one box. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but again, if you consider the inception of how I learned under the mentorship of somebody who also was specialized in a certain category, which was mainly boom bap. Even when I was learning under that person, as we discussed earlier, I was still trying to implement my own ideas. So imagine I'm learning from somebody who's teaching me the fundamentals, the technical aspect of FL Studio, but then when I leave and I get back to my own personal laptop, I'm coming up with ideas on my own. So again, it's always been every step of the way I add on to it, and ultimately the result is just a fusion of just a lot of different sounds that I've accumulated, combined with the creative ideas that I can think of. So I know that was long winded, but
That was great.
you know, it had to be explained. If some of you guys are wondering, you go listen to my mixtape. I don't blame you. I didn't even label what category that was in. I probably put alternative hip hop or if any, but you guys, that's up to your decision because some of the songs on that mixtape, which is the Calvin Cabana Show EP, is some of them you would say, yo, that's a trap song, and you're right. But then another song on there would be like, this is not rap, this is not pop, or this is not hip hop, this is pop. You're right. So every song I had a different intention. And again, this is all in the name of trying to be a pop artist rather than a hip hop artist per se, because I didn't want to be, not only did I didn't want to be categorized as one, not that there's anything wrong with that, but again, every step of the way, it was just accumulation of different sounds plus my own ideas. So I knew it wouldn't always just be, I'm not like, yo, he's a hip hop artist. Well, at most, okay, maybe an alternative hip hop artist. But even then, if you go into that category, it's like, wait a second, if you heard some of my stuff, it's like, it's not really alternative hip hop because look at what some of those artists are doing. Calvin's doing still sounds a little too popish. Popish does have a distinct sound. Usually, historically, it does. If you guys go and research that, I mean, it's not a secret.
Wow. So you like Cell when it comes to an artist. The absorption effect. You know what I mean? Um, Interesting. Yeah, I'm learning more about you too, man. Uh, this is why I have to surprise him with questions he hasn't seen beforehand. So we can draw out the authentic responses. Interesting. That explains a lot about your style. How it was always more like popish, more like have a good time hop. You know what I mean? As I describe you, have a good time hop. You know what I mean? Even the beats you selected in the car in terms of like when we freestyles like this, it was more have a good time esque instead of it's funny how we connect with each other. We're like on the opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm more of the fucking dingy dingy freaking rusty 90s boom bap with the strict adherence to complex metaphorical lyrics. You know what I mean? In terms of what I emulate, what I listen to. But the direction of where I want to go is also, I wouldn't consider it hip hop. It's funny how, yeah, if you're a visionary or creative, then you want to always get beyond those bounds. You know what I mean? To where it's like, for me, first off, if I were to describe, again, I don't even describe my own style. Yeah, I say I'm hip hop only because I always like to pay homage to what I came up with. So it was like the boom bap hip hop in the 90s shit. That's cool. You know what I mean? But we still get older. We still want to evolve type shit. But at the same time, I don't really consider myself like, oh, I'm just a hip hop artist. You know what I mean? Well, it's not really the category. It's more of the content. Like, I never thought to where like, okay, I shouldn't say this because I'm a hip hop artist. So hip hop artists say this. You know what I mean? Like me, if I were to describe myself, I rap about like, yo, I have anime references. I have references on a war history. And then I have references on like freaking just like nerd culture, you know what I mean? It can be like American comics, DC, shit like that, right? I just kind of mix the East and West, right? So it's like just in terms of the contents of my music, I wouldn't say there's a adherence to a certain style, whether it's trap, whether it's this, whether it's, you know what I mean? Whether it's just, in my opinion, the bubblegum freaking old school hip hop like a J. Cole, you know what I mean? Like, I don't rap like that. I don't talk the same subjects as that, you know what I mean? Even in my future projects, I want to get more experimental. And I want to do scores to films. Like I said, the Basila Station. I want to rap like I'm a captain in a ship. I want to get completely fictional, you know what I mean? Like, that's the direction I want to go. In terms of, I want to start making scores to like animated works, you know what I mean? Or like shows and shit like that. So we'll see, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's interesting how you said that, because it makes a lot of sense in terms of you were the more general music guy, you know what I mean? Even though you had influences like Wonder Breed, who was more of the boom bap, and people like me, who was more of the classic hip hop, but very interesting. So yeah, guys, that was it. This was awesome. This is just episode 2. Again, this is going to be placed on my channel, which is Hobbs Karate School. The first episode, if you want to see that, that's in the Calvin Cabana channel, the Calvin Cabana show. You know what I mean? You can see it there. It'll be the link in the description. And we're going to try to keep doing this. We're going to switch topics. If you have a topic we want to talk about, then go ahead and put in the description your suggestions. And yeah, that was it. And so, as you can tell, I kind of forced Calvin to be here. He's more disciplined than me, so he should be asleep right now. But we did it. Episode 3 will be better probably. But yeah, man, that's all I gotta say. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. The usual nomenclature that I don't want to say, but I have to say because the algorithm does reward it. But you already know we're creative, so we don't like being Clone Wars. This ain't Star Wars, bro. So, but sometimes you have to morph into a gray man, in order to reap the benefits, right? But this ain't Clone Wars, bro. But anyway, yeah, man, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.
Oh yeah, by the way, guys, if any of you watch this episode and you are interested in getting into producing music, specifically through FL Studio, feel free to leave a comment on any video of mine. And also, by the way, because me and Hobbs came from an era where producing music in general is not the same as it is today. In my opinion, producing music through FL Studio, if we're talking about that platform, that software, is a lot easier to create hip hop songs. I'll just zone in on that, hip hop rap songs, than it was in the past, because you have plenty of websites out there. I won't name a few, but you guys can just Google this. And these are basically pre-made beats ready for you. You literally drag and drop and you export and you have a beat. And a lot of these websites require purchases, and you may have to research before you before you purchase anything. Just read the description about the beat. You'll also see something called royalty free, which means if you make any money off of the song using that audio that you've purchased, or in this case, that instrumental beat or whatever have you. Royalty free means that you don't owe any money to that owner of that website. So there are websites where it's not royalty free. The beats they provide are bangers, but unfortunately, if you made any money off of streams, etc., you will have to owe a percentage to that owner of that website. And other websites provide beats that are 100% royalty free, which means that you don't owe them a dime. You can run off to the woods with those beats you create. And good luck to you if you are listening to this, because again, it is more easy, in my opinion, to become a producer now. I call this era the drag and drop era, where again, you'll have a bundle pack of say 25 trap melodies. You'll have a drum kit bundle of 25 different trap.
Not only that, they have bundles of loops. This is where I'm like, you just give me a song. They have a loop. Like, obviously I'm boom bap, so to us, loops can be songs, you know what I mean? We're very simple caveman. But they got loops and drum kits to where boom, boom, pop, boom, boom, you know what I mean? They got a whole, like, what are we doing here? With the melody inside too. So they don't even separate it sometimes with melody, hi-hat, cymbals, toms, snares. Nah, bro, they got the loop and everything in there. They got a whole, like, what part? Why is this a kit? This is a song. This isn't ingredients. This is a meal. You know what I mean? Of course, the loops aren't even that. The loops are mid as fuck, of course. But, but dude, it's like microwavable food, bro. There was a point. I'm not gonna lie. I've downloaded drum kits, of course, but I've never that never made the song for me. It was just for inspiration, and sometimes I will use that. Sometimes I get it from a game. Mariah's Conquering Win, I get that from game samples, so like this. Or I play like a game I like and then sample that and then put that in here, change the BPM, shit like this. But for this shit, like how I've seen it over the years, like I said, they're giving you songs and calling it kits. But sorry, go ahead.
No, 100% right. 100% right. I've downloaded quote unquote, hits where it's like, hey man, this is supposed to be like a one shot of a melody or something, and why is this including a drum? There's a drum loop in the back and a snare. It's like I don't even have to add that. So this era, uh we're talking hip hop and rap, mainstream at least. Yeah, it's real easy to replicate a lot of I would say 90% of the instrumentals that you hear from famous mainstream commercial hip hop artists, rap artists. Yeah, those are also, by the way, offered by websites that anybody can download those beats from, or those kits from. It's not that hard. And some of these websites even, promote on the landing page, on the homepage, hey, these drum kits were used in so and so's, so and so's songs.
Wow,
So,
I didn't see that. Then you have AI too, which now they're having AI make songs, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen the AI songs, the Drakes, and then just things like that. I think the viral Drake one was like first Drake AI song,
Wow, that's crazy.
and then it was just like
That's fucked up. I'm very much against all of that. And did they have it to where you can put in a prompt? You can describe it, and then it can make a beat for you. What are we doing here? Do we miss the point on why we do this in the first place? Do we have to have another podcast? I have to be one of the millions of creatives who lambast and criticize what should be basically common sense to everybody, except the people who make these apps aren't like you. They're not interested in what you have to say. They don't have the same core curriculum opinions as you. Toward to them, money is the highest deity. There is no God. You know what I'm saying? There is no God. There is no higher power. That is money. That's when you have no higher power, then money replaces that. And once money is your higher power, then if it's for the sake of money, then that is godly to them. And that's why they will literally replace such a higher order pastime in terms of drawing a picture, making a song, something that gives humans such exuberance and delight and joy for centuries, bro. They'll replace that. And they'll claim that, oh, we're making your life easier. We're taking away the heavy weight of, learning a craft, as if this was something before this age, something to be scorned, something to be, a hurdle to get over, Who is making these decisions? You have to ask that, It's a very scary world we live in. On the surface level, it appears more convenient. It appears like technology is improving. But no. The direction isn't the direction you agreed upon. And you assume it's going in a positive direction when it can be regressing. It can be going backwards. It can be going down. You don't know the vector that is going in. You know what I mean? All you know that it's changing from one position to another. You don't know what direction that's going in. And oftentimes, if you take a step back and look, this is going into things are getting worse. You know what I'm saying? But they claim that direction of getting worse is actually the direction you want to go in. You know what I mean? They have you like this all the time. That's what they have the world as, It's very scary. It's very scary. Because what's scariest is not like rant, by the way. What's scariest isn't the AI. Isn't what it can do. Again, on the surface level, that looks like, wow, this can free up a lot of time. No. We intentionally injected that time into learning the craft because that process of learning is joy. But they want to free up that time because to them, that isn't joy. Because again, the people who are making decisions, that's the scariest part. That's not the AI. That's the people who are making decisions. In some ways, they're not human in some ways. Because all humans have this joy when they do certain things. We literally have chemicals and biology built into us to where when we build a house, when we make a desk, when we accomplish something, we have endorphins, we have chemical releases that make us feel good. This is literally human biology. But for them to ignore all that, is it not crazy to say they're not human? Something I have to think about. So.
Yeah, I agree. That whole AI movement right now we're in the middle of. AI just doesn't affect music. It goes. You know what? In what avenue it's gonna leak out to, and the way society is globally, and at least where we live at. Um, yeah, it's something definitely to monitor and watch, and don't take it for granted yet, or also don't underestimate it because one day you see a cool song made from your favorite artist, and you compliment it. You're like, wow, this is impressive, and then next week the AI is doing something completely unexpected that nobody asked for. But when
Nobody
it comes
asked
down
about
to
that.
the music,
Nobody
down
said
to the
that, bro.
music,
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I agree. Nobody asked for the thing about that is, but when it comes down to the music, just for the love and the joy in the spirit of making music. Again, this drag and drop era, as I've called it, it does have its benefits because it makes it more accessible to newcomers. You don't have to learn music theory. Uh, you don't have to learn
Chord
how to read
progression.
music. Yeah, you don't have to be classically trained anymore on piano or guitar, come from that background and then jump into FL Studio. No, all you need to do is just, hey, let me purchase this uh kit, producer bundle kit, whatever, drag and drop, and boom, there you go. You got your first trap beat or your first pop beat or whatever so and so beat. And just, who knows, you may make 50 tonight, 50 by the end of the week. And so it does have its positives, but it also has its negatives. Hobbs just named a few. I mean, what happened to the human experience of learning an F, an A sharp and a D sharp, and learning what an octave is and going down the piano, the piano roll. It takes away from a lot of things that they've made it a lot easier, but does that necessarily mean it's more fulfilling experience? Well, that would have to be up to the user to decide. But in terms of just producing, if you guys are interested into learning, getting into hip hop, now is the time that anyone can pretty much get into it at all. And because I know I said I'm not working on anything currently, which is true. It doesn't mean I'm not aware of what's still going on in the production. And I'm specifically talking about production side of things right now, of that what's going on, what's offered to producers right now in the moment, because uh I was a producer first and then I became a rapper later on. So if I had to give this like a pie chart, I would I would say Calvin Cabana is 70% producer, 30% rapper. And a lot of my expertise came from producing rather than songwriting slash freestyling. That was a skill I just happened to level up over the years, but I I really come from producing. I mean, like I said, I learned how to produce music from MTV Music Generator, which was a PS1 video game. So that's just that was my situation. So any producers, again, current producers, leave a comment telling me what you think about this drag and drop era. Also, if you come from that old era like me, or that older era like me and Hobbs, you had an opportunity to actually learn, what music actually is, what's included in that process, rather than drag and dropping every single thing. And again, this is no shade. I'm not saying, because drag and drop era, yeah, you can make a lot of great a lot of great sounds from that. But when you do it that way, you also leave out the creative process of what could have been, because now you're accepting what they've sent you, a pre-made loop, rather than, the hours I've spent manipulating, the sound design, lowering the pitch myself, taking it down 5 octaves, trying to figure out, going to 3x oscillator and just
Hmm.
mixing different sounds, doing it yourself manually, rolling up your sleeves and going in there. So, not hating on this generation, because this is the drag and drop era, but you do have to recognize it, because we've been in we've been able to witness the evolution of where rap slash hip hop production styles has evolved up until this point. And again, if you guys are interested into it, maybe you're really young and you're thinking about doing it. If you're into producing music and you're curious, I 100% encourage that. Go explore your creativity. And now is the time, because it is more accessible. But just know also that there's more to that actual universe than just drag and drop. And this is coming from somebody who's from that era of rolling up your sleeves and getting in there and doing something called good old fashioned sound design.
Hmm. Well, all right. With that, you heard it here first, folks. Um, Everything he said, definitely take into account. Like I said, if you're a producer, you have any questions for us, use FL Studio, go ahead and put it in the comments. And yeah, tell us what you think. But I think this was a good episode. So, second time closing comments. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys later.